I'm going to be changing rooms yet again. My mom's coming tonight to stay with us for 3 months. So
3 months, damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Mama EMac.
Mama Mac's going to have her 80th birthday here with us.
Wow. That's fun.
Yeah, she's super excited. Get out of the snow, hang out here in Florida.
All right, Neil, we will go to you in 5, 4.
Welcome to Stokastic NBA Live Before Lock for Saturday night 7-game slate here. I'm your host, Neil Orfield. You can find me on Twitter at PlayerQDFS. And we've got a special treat for you tonight. I am here with my grandfather, Eric McPherson. You can find him on Twitter at EMac DFS. Good to be with you as always, EMac. This show is sponsored by Bet365. Our producer is Mike Lawrence, who you can find on Twitter at AwesomeYo. EMac, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. I guess that is the downside of me not actually being the host, is you get to fire the first shots. So
it's perfect for me to be able to fire that first shot. We were just discussing how we're going to do the show tonight. I think we are going to go game by game, but we're also open to questions. Some of you, have you guys been watching me for like my entire day today? Some of you have seen me this is my 4th hour on stream, not counting VODs today. So happy to have you guys with us. EMac, I think your volume, Barnaby says, damn it, EMac volume. I think EMac's volume is fine. Sounds fine to me. That was a 1-week problem. Okay.
Okay.
Nothing like last week when it.
Nothing like last week. Yeah.
It was a big distinction between us, but yeah. All right. We can even out the sound a little bit. Not a huge deal here. As I said, we are sponsored by Bet365. I'll tell you about the offer we have from Bet365 later. But while you're coming, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. We're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers here on the Stokastic channel. We're getting close. We're north of 90,000. So help us get there. And of course, hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. If you do not already sport that Stokastic avatar, I highly recommend doing so. You can go to stokastic.com/avatar to download the Stokastic avatar. Make that your avatar on DraftKings FanDuel, wherever you play. And if you place in the top 3 of a contest with 5,000 or more contestants, you can get into the Stokastic Hall of Fame. Just have to tweet the screenshot of your win with the avatar to @StokasticHOF. Or if you don't have Twitter, you can always email it to us. You'll win a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum when you do so. And of course, get a shout out from Lofty in his Hall of Fame segment. Of course, you can only win this once per year. So if you've already won your month this year, you're going to have to wait for another year. But, you can still support us, get those W's using our tools. EMac, you want to go game by game here? Is that what we?
Yes, please. That would be helpful for me. And I have a new favorite in chat. It is Brian Korosian. Hopefully I said that name correctly. He says it's pretty rich, a 50-year-old calling EMac old. Yes.
All right. I got to find him so that I can block him.
We're choosing up sides here.
I am 40. Okay. I am not 50. I am 40. I am a man. I'm 40. All right. First game of the slate, EMac. We've got the Charlotte Hornets favored over the Indiana Pacers, 2 of the highest paced teams in the entire NBA. Charlotte plays at the second fastest pace in the NBA. I've been talking NFL all day. I just can't get my words right now. Indiana 3rd in terms of pace of play. So 2 of the higher paced teams in this first game we're talking about, EMac. Who do you like? Who's playable from this game?
All righty. So this is actually a heavy game here. It popped a lot. I did write the article today, and I added a lineup generator feature because I couldn't really find another player I wanted to talk about. It turns out I wanted to talk about this game according to the lineup generator. So we're looking at it's a back-to-back for the Pacers. It's also a 3-4. They beat Cleveland last night, 121-116. Tonight they are hosting or are they in Charlotte? I think they're in Charlotte. Either way,
Indiana.
They're in Indiana. Okay,
they're in Indiana.
Well, and
they are officially in Indiana.
Okay, perfect. Because now I'm out of sorts because I'm in the co-pilot seat here.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of people to look at. Miles Turner is just popping when I ran the lineup generator. on DraftKings, he was coming in 50% of the lineup. So what the lineup generator is doing, by the way, promo code NBA Treat gets you 50% off that lineup generator. What that's doing is it's incorporating all of the stochastic tools, the projections, player projections, player ownership. It is doing the boom bust tool. It's looking at field leverage, and it also has the sims working in the background as well. All you got to do is just push the button. It kind of does what you want. You get to choose a few settings. You can lock in a player. You can choose lineup types, etc. But I ran this unfettered both for DraftKings and FanDuel because I was sort of curious how it was going to play out. So Miles Turner is coming out in 50% of the 20 lineups I ran. So that's proportionally higher than what he is for our popularity. So what this is telling us is even though he's going to be popular, go higher. The other thing that was standing out is Tyrese Halliburton and Bruce Brown were also popping up on DraftKings, and then it was Terry Rozier. So they were 4 of the 5 most popular plays. Running it for FanDuel, Turner dropped all of a sudden. So he's only on 30% of the lineup, still well represented in the tournament. But you got to remember, FanDuel has, center only. They do have multi-position eligibility. So you get a few people like Sabonis or others that are power forward eligible, but he kind of falls down. Bruce Brown leaps to the forefront. He came in on 80% of the lineups. Now he has small forward eligibility, and we have to play 2 small forwards on FanDuel, and a lot of times that can be a tricky position, even with them giving a little more multi-position eligibility. And then Tyrese Halliburton jumped up, and then it went Ingram, Sabonis, and then 4 Charlotte players were next. Rozier, Washington, Hayward, and LaMelo Ball. Now, each of those guys was only on 35% of the lineups, or 3.5 or 7, I guess, out of the 20 that I did. So it doesn't mean necessarily it was all game stacks. I went through and looked, and there were a couple sort of game stacks of this, and I found it to be kind of interesting, especially in light of what we saw last night with the perfect outcome between Portland and Memphis, where we had a game stack that went into overtime. Overtime happens on I can't remember, I think it's like 3% or 5% of all NBA games. So it's not uncommon, it's not super common. And by the time you figure out, everybody plays 82 games, and then, cut that, multiply it by 30, cut it in half. You're like, yeah, I guess it doesn't happen as often as we think it does, because you can go days without overtime. But I found that to be an interesting one. So this game is bringing in our player pool. Or our portfolio where we want. It's slightly different on your side of choice. So you need to know your scoring format, your roster construction, your salary caps, etc. But this ends up being the game of games, in my opinion. The biggest fear was is Halliburton playing on the back-to-back. He is in. He was dealing, I can't remember if it was a sore ankle or calf. I think it was an ankle from like 2 days ago, and then I think there was an illness. He's good to go. That was just a little nerve-wracking. If we look at the minutes from last night, Bruce Brown played 37, Halliburton had 34, which is normal, and then Miles Turner had 31. So nothing overly confusing there. But this is kind of the game to target, and you can do it from in multiple spots. Flipping it to the other side of the Hornets side, Adam and I had a good discussion on the NBA strategy show, sort of what do we do with the kind of soft-ish minutes limit there that has been bandied about for LaMelo Ball, similarly with LeBron James. So he had some interesting takes on how to handle it, etc. We kind of have the same. We have slightly different approaches in words, but we kind of land on the same spot. You want to make sure you're getting them in your player pool. You just need to understand that they're floor is probably not as safe, or attaining their ceiling is a little tougher because they need a closer game, they need to be doing well, etc. But at the end of the day, he was kind of like, don't let it really over influence what we're doing, because as Greg says, coaches are damn dirty liars.
They sure are.
All the way. But Terry Rozier, he's about 8% undervalued on both sites for where his points projection is to where his salary is. We have Indiana plays at the 3rd fastest pace this year. We're 5 games into the season, but the Pacers play with pace like they have the last couple of years. 104.3 possessions per 48 minutes, and they have the 2nd worst defensive efficiency, allowing 114.8 points per 100 possessions. So that's all baked into the total in Vegas and all of that. But it just shows, yep, they are going to be playing fast, because sometimes people get worried about, Miles Turner, he's a good defender. He's good at weak side blocks, and he's a good rim protector, but he can't stop 5 guys by himself. So
Yeah.
But I like this game. Too bad this isn't the late night hammer like we had last night, Neil, that I fell asleep for and didn't get to see the fourth quarter.
I had a lineup. I actually, last night was a good example of using the tools, because I had no business playing last night. I decided really late. I was like, screw it, I'm going to play the 20 max, and I ended up getting a lineup up to 71st place in that 20 max just using the Sims tool. I literally just ran the Sims tool. I downgraded Derrick Jones Jr. was the only thing that I did, as far as like, I don't want to get as much as it was given me. That's the only thing I did. And then I ended up getting 71st place. Looked like I had some real promise with that late night hammer last night. But yeah, tonight looks like first game of the slate, looks like arguably the best game of the slate. Looking at just sorting by value right now in terms of our projections relative to their price. Miles Turner, number 2 on the board in terms of value score. Bruce Brown, number 3, both from this game. Tyrese Halliburton actually not that far behind. He's 9,200. We've got him projected for 50 fantasy points. Terry Rozier up there. We've got him for 39 fantasy points at 7,000. So plenty of great value in this game. And you kind of gave all the reasons, like not great defense being played here, really fast pace, lot to love from this game. What if I told you can only play 3 players from this game? Who are your 3 favorites from the Pacers-Charlotte game?
It is going to be Halliburton, Rozier, Terry Rozier, and Miles Turner. Now Turner gets a little dicey, as I sort of talked about with using the lineup generator. It's going to differ by site. It's a little tougher to play him on FanDuel, but if I'm just building one lineup, I think I want to go there.
All right, makes sense. Is it any different on FanDuel versus DraftKings?
No, it's just easier to get Turner because you've got the utility slot.
Okay. Our Apple guy just came in and gave out 5 subscriptions. Chris Williams giving out 5 subscriptions to Stochastic YouTube chat for people who are in chat. Appreciate you. Oh, and I was just gifted one. Man, I got to turn off receiving gifts because I feel undeserving. I feel like I don't need it because I already have the wrench and all that. But I appreciate you anyway, Chris Williams. I will someday figure out how to turn that off because I have no idea if I get anything from it since I already have the.
Do you already get to have the goofy little emojis where you can post like the Greg Ehrenberg emoji and stuff?
I actually don't know. I don't know if I don't think I do. So maybe I do get that out of it.
You would get that. That's the only difference there.
I'm too bitter that I don't have my own avatar, so I don't use other people's avatars because screw them. I need my own avatar. Been working at this company a long time. I still don't have a YouTube avatar. So
all right. Well, you know what, everybody, show Neil my avatar in the chat just so he can see what an avatar looks like.
Thank you.
A customized one.
Thanks for that, EMac. All right. Let's move on. Second game of the slate is Atlanta at New Orleans. Another pretty high-paced game, 232.5 total. It is, as I said, in New Orleans. Atlanta looks healthy. I'm reading your notes here. Alvarado is out, as is Marshall. Brandon Ingram probable. Zion is in after a rest game. Tell me about your interest in. Do you want to start on one side or the other, or just jump right into the? Let's talk about Atlanta. Who do you like from Atlanta tonight?
So Atlanta, it was a good one. I kind of grilled Adam a little bit on this one on the show because I didn't know for sure how to read it. And he thought that the Clint Capella, Okongwu, you don't want to play them together. 7-game slate, it just doesn't seem to make sense. And he described it really well. He said, if you get 24 minutes from Okongwu, you're probably happy. His price is ticked up. It's in the 4s now on DraftKings. But on Capella, if he only gets 24 minutes, you're not happy. So you really do need them to somebody needs to get to 26 or 27. It's harder to get them together. It was a different story when Okongwu was in the mid to upper 3s for the few days that he was. So the other thing that's interesting with Atlanta, no John Collins. So they have ample wing scoring, but no consistency, right? You've got Sadiq Bey, you've got Hunter, you've got Bogdanovich, a rotating cast. I'm missing Jalen Johnson. You've got kind of that rotating cast of anybody could get hot, but there's not that, okay, John Collins is probably the third scorer kind of guy. And then you've got the 2 guards who are great, right? DeJounte Murray, go Washington Huskies, and Trae Young. The only knock we ever have against Trae Young, doesn't rebound a lot. That kind of mutes his overarching upside because you need him to be splashing the 3s and racking up the assists to clear 50 fantasy points, even 60. He doesn't have much more than 60 unless everything is going his way and he gets a couple steals, and he's not a good defender. Steals are not part of his game either. So he's someone that, fun to watch, solid guy, always going to be flirting with 40, 45 fantasy points, but that ceiling, very fleeting. It's hard for him to get there because he needs too many things to go right, because he's missing the steals and he's missing the rebounds. So any of them kind of coming into my lineups, I'm okay with. They weren't really players that I was targeting. On the New Orleans side, we have Zion. This is the third game in 4 days for New Orleans. They had a day off, but they had a back-to-back previously. That's why Zion was out. They had him rest. He's good to go tonight. Brandon Ingram, where are the notes? He is in. He has missed the last 3 games with the knee issue, right? That cost him something like 16 or 17 or 19, whatever it was, games in a row last season. I don't know if it's the same thing, but we've seen him just miss extended stretches. So he's back after having been out for 3 games. You saw Jonas Valanciunas' price go up because he had a solid game and the algorithms had time to process that in. He's gone up a little higher than he was. So it's all of a sudden things are crowded. I still like CJ McCollum as a good play, but I'd rather play one of the guards from the other game ahead of him. But he's always a reasonable tournament play because he likes to gun the threes, right? And it's not a shock if he puts up 8 threes and if he nailed 6 of them, all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, he had 32 points and 7 assists and 4 rebounds and whatever it is. And you're like, wow, that was a great game. He can do that regardless of who's in or out. Harder to get there when everybody's in, but he can still have that upside.
I want to just to clear some confusion in chat. People thought you said John Collins is out. He's just no longer in Atlanta. John Collins is playing tonight.
Yeah, John Collins is playing for the Utah Jazz.
Yep.
Full stop. He's no longer a part of the Atlanta Hawks.
Right.
He was their third scorer for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
Right. And that's missing now. They have ample wings that rotate through. Any one of them could, make their 17-footers and their corner threes. Good luck guessing which one before you see the final box score. That was the point. Sorry for the confusion.
No, I mean, it was just a look.
No, not for you. I'm apologizing to chat. Screw you. You said bad things about me from the start.
I called you my grandpa. I sent you a special treat. What do you mean? What are you talking about? The Hawks have 5 players valued at 5x value or better in Bogdan Bogdanovic, Okongwu, DeAndre Hunter, Trae Young, Clint Capella, and DeJounte Murray, all projected for between 5x and 5.4x value. So I think you laid it out well. They're all in play. None of them stand out like great plays. Also, Sadiq Bey right there at 4.8x. So plenty of value on the Atlanta side. And then the New Orleans side, we also have Ingram 5.1x, McCollum 5x. Valanciunas. Did you talk about Valanciunas at all? He's 16.
No, his prices come up and he had a good game without Zion. Brandon Ingram kind of goes back to irrelevance. Jonas can get there at any point in time, but we see his minutes kind of get yanked around. If he ever gets 28 to 30 minutes, he's crushing and he's going to flirt with 50 fantasy points, like with a 15-15 double-double. If he doesn't, then he might flirt with a double-double, which is not going to pay off tonight's salary. Even if he gets 26 minutes, he may not get there tonight.
I was bringing him up without having looked at his box score. I didn't play on Thursday night because it was Thursday Night Football. I was doing all the content there, so didn't play NBA that night. Didn't realize Jonas Valanciunas just put up 54 fantasy points 2 nights ago without Zion. So yeah, maybe the ownership surprised us a little bit, but he looks like he's just a guy that I brought up because I'm like, Jonas Valanciunas can always get it. Like he has just random spike weeks here and there, so a little bit intriguing for me at 1% ownership, but certainly doesn't stand out in the tools at all. Anything else you want to say about this New Orleans Atlanta game, or actually answer your 3 favorites from the game?
CJ McCollum, DeJounte Murray, and I would say Okongwu, but he's 14 on Yahoo. I think he stands out better there. We have so many center options, and while I like him, I think I would rather play somebody like Zion. Now, the thing about Zion is it's hard. I don't want to say he doesn't have upside, but he hits like 43 fantasy points with 38 to 40. 43 seems like his range. And if he is nailing his shots and collecting a few extra rebounds, yeah, he's going to have a 50 fantasy point night. But he doesn't get blocks like we would think. And now he's dealing with Ingram CJ McCollum's a good rebounder and Jonas. So it's plus Okongwu or Capella on the other side. So it's kind of a tougher one for him, but I think I'd give him the slight edge just for being at a different position. But I guess this is sort of a two-man show between DeJounte and CJ.
All right, fair enough. Anthony Bolin asks, Neil, do you ever stack more than 4 players from the same team on a slate this size or larger? The answer for me is typically not. I wouldn't say never. Like, there are slates where one team will have so much value that maybe I'll play 4 or more, but I'm not seeing it on this slate. I think I'll set my cap at 3. How about you, Mac?
I think 3 is good for tonight. I actually may go in and set that cap. I usually don't, but I have enough I cap most of my players the way I set things up, so it usually doesn't overwhelm them unless it's a team missing like 2 starters. In that case, like, you usually want 4 from those games anyway, 4 from a team in those games. So.
Makes sense. All right, let's move on to the third game of the slate, which is the Los Angeles Lakers at the Orlando Magic. We have Rui Hachimura out for LA. Looks like Gabe Vincent also out. Jared Vanderbilt, man, a lot of players out for the Lakers tonight. We've also got Wendell Carter. That's going to be a big one. Wendell Carter out for Orlando, along with Gary Harris. Starting with the Lakers, who do you have interest in here?
So Anthony Davis, which I believe he is center only on both sides. So that's sort of putting some pressure on Okongwu. You also have and Joe Val, etc. You also have Jokic on the slate too. So centers are kind of at a premium. So I like Anthony Davis. I think he's a pretty solid play. I think on the other side, I don't believe we have the starting lineup yet. Let me refresh this. Other than we know for sure Ben Simmons is out, but I walked away from my computer, so I don't think it's auto updating. Yeah, we do not have that starting lineup. I'm curious to see if it's Goga Bitadze starting, then you can play him. If he's not starting, then I'm not as excited about him. And then it would be Maurice Wagner. Wagner, I think, is a decent play, especially where you have power forward eligibility, regardless of whether he's starting or not. Bitadze gets a little dicey. Did you know in his 42 or 44 games, whatever it was, last year between Indiana and Orlando, he started just one time? I think we're thinking of 2 and 3 seasons ago, like the bubble, the pandemic year. I think he had more starts those years. Like he had 15 or so in one of those years. He hasn't really started.
We have the lineup, EMac.
Oh, do we?
It is Anthony Black, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, and Goga is starting tonight. Okay,
so Goga is in play. He's $10 on Yahoo. He's 3,000 on DraftKings, and I'm assuming he's at the FanDuel minimum. Let me upload our stuff. I was just uploading my college football lineups. What are we projecting him for minutes?
We are projecting Goga as the best value on the slate. We have him in for just under 24 minutes and 24 fantasy points at the Stone Min on DraftKings at 3,000.
Funny enough, I've got my Goga Bitadze basketball reference page still up here. So looking at his per 36, Neil, I want to see his foul. Where is his per 36? There's per 100. Fouls. Okay. Last year he had 5 fouls per 36. The year prior to that, it was 5.3. His second year in the league, it was 6 per 36. So he has a pretty hefty foul rate. And that's something that, 2 quick fouls, he's coming out, right? Because God forbid he foul out, and coaches don't like that. So of course, cannon fodder like Goga Bitadze all of a sudden could curb his minutes, even though they really need him for 18 minutes. They're going to save him for later. I don't know why, but there's foul risk there. Yes, he's probably the best value play of the night, but the volatility on him is pretty high.
Very high.
I would like to match or come in under the field on this one.
People asking who Anthony Black is, and I had that same question myself. And I see we have him in for 24 and a half minutes, just 14 fantasy points. We have him projected for under 0.6 fantasy points per minute. Sort of interesting, though, that Anthony Black is getting the start. He has so far produced 1.19 fantasy points per game. So we're projecting him well under his his average so far this year, but I think that's probably reasonable as a starter there. Who else do you want to play from the Magic? Any interest in Anthony Black himself or anybody else from the Magic?
No. Yes, for both the Wagner brothers. Yes, for Paulo Banchero, but they're sort of neutral. I would prefer not to have more than 2 on my lineup, and that would include Batadze. So I really don't want to get to too many of the Magic. They still have enough players, even without, Harris and is Fulton. Sorry, let me go back to the injury.
Fultz is out.
Fultz is out. Gary Harris is out. There we go. Now I've got it. Now it pops up. So they still have enough players that can split these minutes. I don't like it. So I think you're safe with Moritz Wagner because he's arguably their better front court player. He's not tall, but he's a pretty good rebounder, and he's an annoying defender, having watched him for several seasons when he was with the Wizards. So I'm not worried about him. He also has foul issues, just not as quite as intense as Batadze. Banchero is okay. I guess you could go to one of their backup guards per se, but it's kind of a coin flip which one do you want? They're not very exciting. I'd rather take someone from a team like I'd rather roll the dice with one of the Atlanta Wings than anybody outside of the Wagner brothers, Banchero, and Batadze from this team. So I guess Cole Anthony is not enticing to me.
All right, that's fair. I was curious
and
what you
Suggs
think about Cole Anthony.
Whoever else is Isaac, whoever else is healthy.
Suggs is a little bit interested in me just because he's 5,200. We only have him projected for about 29 minutes and 26 fantasy points at 5,200. So it doesn't really stand out as a great value. Cole Anthony actually looks like a pretty good value for us, even though he's not starting. We have him playing 29 minutes, 31 fantasy points at 5,400. So I think Cole Anthony, to me, is at least in play just because he is one of the better values on the slate as we have him right now, even coming off the bench. So I would say he's in play. And then, you mentioned Franz Wagner. We have him at 5x value. Paulo Banchero, 4.8x looks fine. Obviously has the ability to spike an upside. How about the Lakers here?
So Davis, I really like. LeBron, I'm okay. I'm ambivalent, but he, of course, has the path to getting there. Those are really they're always going to be the main 2, right? Austin Reeves is okay. He's obviously not getting the minutes that he did at the end in the playoffs last year. Christian Wood, kind of intriguing, but again, yet another center here. He's $10 on Yahoo. I like him there, and I'm talking about the $10 players. Not all $10 players on Yahoo are created equal. There are some that are absolute traps. Batadze is probably one of them. I'd rather have someone like Wood for $10 than Batadze for $10, right? You got to know your site. You got to know the scoring system. You got to know the little intricacies here. D'Angelo Russell, I think, is okay. He'd probably be the 3rd guy I have interest in. And then the rest, they have an okay team, right? Compared to the absolute stars and scrubs disaster that we kind of saw last year. But the pecking order doesn't quite seem totally lined up yet, right? Because the guards can lose out to LeBron when he becomes point LeBron. The wings and centers can lose out to LeBron and Davis, right? All of a sudden, everything just their orbit, the gravitational pull of their orbit is just give me all the usage between the 2 of them. And it makes the other guys harder to go to. Plus, even with the players missing on the Magic have a really good defensive team, right? Nobody's ever healthy at the same time, which is a problem for them.
Yeah.
But they're not a fun matchup.
Just looking at pace of play, these teams are 20th and 21st in terms of pace of play this year. So not particularly fast teams. In terms of defensive rating, neither plays particularly bad defense, which is what you're hoping for in general. Yeah, as you said, the Magic 2nd in terms of defensive rating, behind my Minnesota Timberwolves, number 1 in defensive rating so far this year. Awesome to see.
That Rudy Gobert fella, he could really help out.
That Rudy Gobert fella, defensive player of the year multiple times.
The Stifle Tower.
So the Lakers, I think you gave a really good rundown there. We've got, in terms of just like looking at the value scores, LeBron actually leads the way with a projection just under 50 at 9,300. Anthony Davis projecting just under 52 at 9,900. D'Lo, as you mentioned, looks like a pretty solid play. We've got him in for nearly 35 minutes and 33 fantasy points. D'Lo looks pretty good. Austin Reeves looks like he's in play at nearly 28 fantasy points, 5,700. You mentioned Christian Wood. Looks like he's $10 on Yahoo, obviously looks great, but even on DraftKings, he's 5,200. We've got him projected for about 27 fantasy points. So some upside there. And then Cam Reddish projected for just under 21.5 fantasy points at 4,000. Looks okay. Pretty decent value there as well. So some nice options from this game for you, EMac. Both sides, both teams. Who are your top three from this Magic and Lakers game?
I would sorry, now I'm trying to fix my microphone. My apologies. Sorry, Mike, I didn't get that note till just now. I would say I don't want to put Batadze 1, so I'm going to say Davis is 1, Franz Wagner is 2, and Moritz Wagner is 3. LeBron and Batadze, completely different players, positions, salaries, everything. They would kind of be the fourth person in. If you don't like Mo Wagner, then I would lean towards them if you were playing 3 from this game.
Okay, you are really fighting against the Goga Batadze value. I'm saying it looks.
I've seen this movie before.
Yeah,
it's a horror movie. Some people, somebody filmed a horror movie in 17 days in Oregon, and I think this reminds me of that.
All right, I'm going to hit on some of our super chats and or welcomes. Timothy Goss, welcome to Team Stokastic. MJazz22, appreciate you signing up as well. I mentioned earlier that Chris Williams gifted out 5 Stokastic memberships, YouTube memberships. I missed that Malakar also gifted 5 Stokastic YouTube memberships. So
that's Man, Myth, and Malakar.
Man, Myth, and the Malakar. Yeah. Thank you, Malakar, as always. And Cheers Bruce says, can you dudes show DraftKings ownership, please? So if producer Mike would like to show some DraftKings ownership, we can flash that up on the screen, have you take a look there at the ownership. So it's kind of a wide range of outcomes for Goga Batadze, but ultimately we have him as currently the best value on the slate, just based on his projection versus his minimum price salary. A lot of volatility there, of course, but we also have Goga Batadze projected for 69% ownership. That is nice, but it's also not very. That's a lot of ownership for a player who is highly volatile. So I'll probably come in close to the field on Batadze. Actually, I kind of want to.
I'm going to cap him at 50. I said I wanted to come in under the field. I'm going to cap him at 50 and see what happens.
Yeah, I want to take a look at our boom bust. I have not started building yet, so I haven't actually looked at the boom bust tool. I want to see where Goga ends up. So let me read that off to you. Yeah, we've got him at 69% ownership with a 49% chance of being optimal, 52% chance of booming. So that 50% number that you're capping him at seems about right. Yeah, based on the boom bust. All right. That is 3 up and 3 down. I'm working.
That was our 7 o'clock games. We have 3 at 7, 3 at 8, and then 9 o'clock.
Perfect.
So this is
good. We've got through the ones we need to get through early.
Yes.
So it's a perfect time though to tell you guys about Bet365, because we've got a fantastic deal at Bet365 that happens to only be available, unfortunately, in 6 states. So if you're not in one of these 6 states, you don't really need to pay attention to this. But if you're in Colorado, Kentucky, Iowa, New Jersey, Ohio, or Virginia, we've got a fantastic deal. You can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets at Bet365. That is win or lose. You bet your $5, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets. It's basically free money. If you live in one of those states, again, Colorado, Kentucky, Iowa, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, you live in one of those 6 states and you haven't already signed up for Bet365, it's kind of a no-brainer to sign up there to get your $5 turned into $150 in bonus bets. So highly recommend checking that out. The link is in the description of this video. It is also in chat. So check it out if you are in one of those states and you haven't already signed up. All right, EMac, we will move on to the 4th game of the slate, getting to our later games, starting with Boston at Brooklyn. This is a 10-point spread in this one. You noted this is an island game. Interesting. Okay.
So it is for Boston. It's an island game.
Oh, I see what you mean by that.
Okay, yes, meaning they didn't play. Neil's looking at my note. I'm glad I didn't do, but I was going to talk about Paradise Island games, like if you have had more than 2 days off. I'm glad I didn't put those crib notes in there because you would have been lost.
I'm trying to think. What is the quote from what I'm looking for. The news anchor who reads it right off the screen.
The Ron Burgundy.
I'm Ron Burgundy. I'm Ron Burgundy. Yeah, that's I'm doing that. I'm just reading straight off of EMac's notes here. You can put whatever in there. I'm just gonna read it anyway. All right.
I did that to Terry once, and I accidentally had for baseball, I had it as the Arizona Cardinals.
Nice.
So I kept trying to sneak in the New York Giants at other points in time. So.
Yeah. Vic David really wants us to do DraftKings tiers, and I have not looked at tiers. Have you looked at the tiers?
Let's circle back to that. Let me upload my NHL lineups. I've got my college football lineups up, and then I'm happy to take a look at tiers.
All right. Speaking of college football, I played one lineup today, and of course I've got the guy Evan whatever who didn't play. Evan Stewart was ruled out. They didn't give us any word before the game that he wasn't going to play, and then we got the late news that he was out. So that was unfortunate. All right. Boston and Brooklyn. Starting with the Boston side, we have Derek White out. Who do you like on Boston tonight?
Not really anybody. And that's because blowout risk is relatively high in this one. So Ben Simmons out on the other side. Obviously, Claxton's still out, and Cam Johnson still out. So there's a reason Boston is 10-point road favorites. How's the blowout get there? If it's going to happen, well, it's going to probably come through Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You can still play them in tournaments. I don't really want to avoid them per se, but just know that 3.5 quarters is an outcome, and they could miss the last 6 minutes of the game because they're basking on the sidelines, enjoying the island weather as they've crushed the Brooklyn Nets. So it makes it harder to like them. Similarly, from the Nets side, they're so shorthanded at this point. Could people have good games? Yes, but Boston still has a really good defense. Just becomes a challenge. Derek White, we did mention that he's out. I don't really think that dramatically impacts anything because we could see the bench, and the challenge is who's really the bench per se, right? They've moved around enough pieces with Drew Holiday and Porzingis there now, etc. Right? It's not the old rotation that we could kind of say, oh, we know who, the Peyton Pritchards of the world, or I'm forgetting the Sam, whoever that will, right? Just the
Sam Hauser.
Yeah. Just those are the guys we'd be chasing. We don't need to chase that type of player tonight. I really don't want to get there. And this could just be a slog. I mean, Brooklyn had a great win yesterday. They could just be a dog in this game, and all of a sudden they score 86 points, and Boston really only needs to score 106 and comfortably cruise to victory. That's more what I'm worried about.
Okay. So are you not interested in anybody in the game, or just from the Celtics?
In the game.
In the game. All right. I'll give you the projections based counterpoint, which is not a particularly strong one, but we've got Pritchard projected for just over 20 fantasy points at 3,600. He looks fine just based on a point per dollar projection. Al Horford's 4,700. We have him projected for 26 fantasy point. Looks just fine. Drew Holiday, 6,800. We have him for 34 fantasy points. So these guys are right around the 5x value that you're hoping to exceed. I mean, these days you really can't put up with just 5x value except for your studs in general. So maybe 5x is not the best threshold, but that's kind of like around the threshold where I'm starting to think, yeah, maybe I'll play him. Tatum, 4.8x. We've got him 49 fantasy points, 10,300. Jaylen Brown, 8,000 for 37 fantasy points. Your guy Sam Hauser actually 4.6x. I don't think we're going to Sam Hauser. He is 3,300. We've got a projector of 15 fantasy points. I don't think I'm going to go there though. Actually, Kristaps projects worse point per dollar than Sam Hauser does. We have Kristaps for just under 37 fantasy points at 8,300. I'd be more likely to play Kristaps than Sam Hauser just because he's Kristaps. We know that he has some upside there. He could put up a score, but just doesn't project well enough that he's likely to naturally make it into many of your lineups. And then from the Nets, we do have Spencer Dinwiddie, a 5x value, 6,300. We've got him for 31.3 fantasy points. Day'Ron Sharpe looks fine. He's 4,700. We have him for 23 fantasy points. Royce O'Neal, 5,200. We have him for 24.5 fantasy points. So like some decent values. Dorian Finney-Smith, Dennis Smith Jr. both look okay at their price, but nobody who really stands out as a great play on Brooklyn. So yeah, I'm with you in that. Like it's totally fine fading these guys. Some of them look like totally fine point per dollar plays, but nobody stands out as a great play. And as you said, yes, there is additional blowout risk in this one relative to other games. So if you're not playing them, I guess we don't really need to do much more analysis of this one. You want to move on and talk about the Kings at the Rockets?
Yes.
All right. Well, let's. I mean, this is an important one because we have De'Aaron Fox out for Sacramento. So let's just start there. Who do you like on Sacramento, if anybody?
So I like Sabonis, and Adam and I had a good conversation on that before. And I like Sabonis for an outside shot at a triple double. Unfortunately, the best numbers you could find were like plus 230. I don't want any part of that's there's no upside there. I was hoping for like plus 290, 300, but I don't want to go there for that. Sabonis perfectly fine. Adam had an excellent call out that the pick and roll game between Sabonis and Fox is such a huge part of Sabonis's game that when Fox is out, he still kind of gets there on volume, but he loses on efficiency. And so what I did after we had that conversation, then I wrote this up in the article that's on free on our homepage, the DFS Building Blocks article. So in the last this year, one game, and I think it was 8 in the prior season. So Fox and Sabonis played without Fox. In those games, he averaged 36 minutes, just 12.6 field goals. Sabonis doesn't shoot a lot. He just makes his shots. He had 13 rebounds, 6.9 assists, and 1.5 combined blocks and steals for about 50 fantasy points. That's about what he gets when Fox is in there, right? His per minute fantasy production goes up by about 8%. His assists go up by about 7%. It gets close to like a 30% assist rate in, I don't know, it's like 1,700 minutes without him, or in the games without when Fox is not on the court. So I'm talking to two things: starts without Fox, and then time on the court without Fox. So it all kind of comes out in the wash, and I was a little bit surprised. That said, I like him because you can get him power forward on FanDuel, which I think is very, very important. He's good but not great on Yahoo. I would rather play Miles Turner there, and then I'd like to make him a priority on DraftKings, or at least be above the field. But he's not the smash lock button, fill in your favorite DFS platitude there that I thought he was going to be this morning when I was like, oh yes, this is going to be a great spot. He's leading the league in rebounds with 14 per game. Last year he had 12.6. Last year he had double doubles in like 80% of his games. He only missed 3 games last year. He played in 79 games. Foul troubles were shockingly an issue. He actually fouls out of games. You wouldn't.
Domatis?
I mean, Sabonis does. It's not. I just get surprised when players like him foul out. Right? You get why Jaren Jackson does. Right? He's going for defensive stuff. Right? No issue with that. You know why Goga Bitadze does. Right?
Yeah.
But Sabonis, really? Stop
NBA,
with the tiki tacks.
We're getting questions about the NBA. I want to say it's NBA Treat, the promo code. Actually, let me see if I can find it on your run sheet, because we were getting questions
promo
about
code NBA Treat, 50% off the lineup generator package. So that's 50% off the 1 week package, brings it down to $4.99. It's $8.95 otherwise, but you do get that as part. You get Discord as part of that. So that's that promo code.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that. Yeah, it's a really great deal. Yeah, NBA Treat is the promo code. It's 50% off, and then $8.95 per week. So appreciate we'll look at the lineup generator in a minute, but just because we had people in chat asking about it, I thought I should give that shout out. And Mike, if you have not already, please do put the link in there. We'll of course take a look at it in a minute. But I thought that was a really great breakdown of Domantas Sabonis. Yeah, he's not like the slam dunk play. He's more of like a low owned leverage play is really what he ends up being. Like, I would have thought he'd be high owned against this Houston team, but ultimately we have him at just under 8% ownership, 30% chance of booming, and 10% chance of being optimal. So we do have some positive leverage there on Domantas. As you said, I'm going to be over the field as well, I believe. I like that call out. Anybody, who else do you like on Sacramento, if anybody?
So Malik Monk looks pretty good, and then kind of everybody is okay on FanDuel. Monk looks good on DraftKings. You've got the interchangeable wings, right? Monk is, I think he's 5,000 on DraftKings, which is what gets him to be a slightly better point per dollar value. But you've got him, you've got Kevin Huerter, you've got Barnes, you've got Keegan Murray. They can all take minutes from each other, and that's a bit of a challenge because they all do something slightly better than the other, right? Murray's a better rebounder. Barnes is the veteran presence. Monk's the better scorer, and Herter's probably the better ball handler. But he's pretty good at 3-pointers as well. He just doesn't take enough of them.
Yeah.
How does it work, right? It's kind of like the Atlanta wing situation. I'm not going to get mad if one of them's in my lineup, but I don't know which one I want before I see the box score.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And we have, for the record, Herter is the best value of the group at 5,100. We have him for 27 fantasy points, just in terms of value score. But I think you laid it out nicely. Like it's hard to predict who is going to get there, but all of them are a lot of viable options for Houston. What about, or sorry, for Sacramento? Who do you like on Houston, if anybody?
Well, there is one elite play. I believe it's pronounced Fred Van Elite. Of course, I'm going to like him. He's very boom bust. He has a lot of minutes in some of his games. It's not quite the same as in Toronto, but he got the literal bag on top of the bag that he got after signing that multi-year contract as a undrafted free agent. So he's pretty good. Şengün is good. We got a pass hole of centers. Those are the two that really stand out. So I guess you could go with Jalen Green, a little bit more upside, scoring wise, than a lot of the other players in the field. But that's his path to fantasy points. So I like the three of them. Adam said it best. He said I'd kind of like one player from. He said it was Sacramento, but then he said later, I wouldn't mind one player from each team in these lineups. I'm not going to force a rule to do it because it's a great game environment.
Right. Agreed. Who are your favorite three from the game?
Van Vliet, Sabonis. I'm going to go Şengün.
I like that. Şengün to me always feels like he's always so close to blowing up. He could get there for sure. 8,200. We've got him for 39.5 fantasy points. So not a great value, but certainly has that upside against Sacramento.
I think he was plus. I know CJ McCollum was plus 9,000 for a triple double. I think Şengün was plus 2,000. I was trying to find somebody I wanted for a triple double. I didn't want the plus 2,000. So the 20-1 for those of you at home scoring.
All right. Utah Jazz at my Minnesota Timberwolves. How the tables have turned. The Timberwolves now one of the the best in terms of defensive rating in the entire NBA. Utah now down to 23rd in the NBA in terms of defensive rating. No major injuries here. Who do you like? Starting with Utah, who do you have interest in?
All right, let me get the filters over here on Utah because I want to hit these. Oh, we just have 2 games left. Okay, so we can hit these quick. So Markkanen's going to be number 1. We have seen John Collins kind of go. He's adequate. I think he's going to continue to do John Collins things similar to what he did at Atlanta, but the team doesn't hate him, which is a big difference here. Yeah. Walker Kessler is an absolute trap. I don't know what's going on there. He's had 140 fantasy point game and he's had 4 below 20 fantasy points. Yikes.
He only has that one game where he played 29 minutes. Otherwise, he's playing low 20s in minutes generally. It's weird. Yeah.
It's not foul trouble. I tried, and I'm not as good at reading the rotations as the other, but nothing super stood out from the rotations. It wasn't like he was totally losing out to Collins, because Collins is not, he's an undersized 5. He's an okay power forward. You've got Markkanen floating around there, right? And it's sort of like I started looking at what Kessler had done in prior years. He didn't have great games until the end of the season when he was playing pretty big minutes. I don't see a path for him to getting to those pretty big minutes. As his price, our assessment this morning was, as his price goes down, all of a sudden he's a $4,500 center on DraftKings. You're going, hey, 3 blocks and nearly getting a double-double. I like that. I'm going after that. But otherwise, it's hard to be excited about him with so many other people at center. I like Markkanen in this one. I like Jordan Clarkson, and I'm okay with Collins. His price ticked up just enough that I don't quite get there, but I think Markkanen and Clarkson will make people happy. But you're right that the defense from Minnesota kind of dampens our expectations just a little bit in the early going here.
I'd throw Talon Horton-Tucker in there as another playable option. Just 5,500. We have him projected for 27.5 fantasy points. So right there in terms of his value, he looks like an okay play. All right, my Minnesota Timberwolves. We've got some nice value on the Wolves. Who do you like, EMac?
Shouldn't I take a break here and you tell us who you like? This is your team.
The entire team is playable, EMac. You can play anybody you want to from the Timberwolves. All right,
Conley is kind of at a lower price.
Yep.
Gobert, there's too many other centers. I'm okay with Karl Anthony Towns. We haven't talked about him on, when I say we collectively, I haven't heard his name on many shows this season. I think he's okay, but it really ends up being because we've talked ad nauseum about how many good centers there are. Conley's popping for me because he's a value point guard. What are we hoping for? I don't know. I'm guessing we're projecting him for 29 minutes and 26 fantasy points. I don't have that up, but
27 and a half fantasy points. 28 minutes, 27 and a half fantasy points.
Right.
We have.
I looked at it this morning. I hadn't looked at it in a few hours. So, okay. So I wasn't doing math in my head. I let our projections do the projections. But this is year, I don't know, 35 or whatever of me doing fantasy basketball. So
all right.
Osmosis, I think, gets me there.
I like Kyle Anderson, just sort of, a volatile option who's interesting in GPPs. Past 3 games, he's played 23 to 25 minutes in each game, but he played 30 minutes against Toronto 4 games ago. A little bit of volatility there, at least in Kyle Anderson, but we've got him at a 5.0, 5x value. Anthony Edwards, 4.9x. We've got him at 43 fantasy points, 8,800. Nice matchup against the Jazz. You have to imagine at some point he gets going. Naz Reid has had some really big games. A lot of playable options on the Timberwolves, not many that really stand out as like must-have options. But yeah, Gobert 6,600. Somebody in chat was talking about, pretty interesting. Conley a little bit too cheap. A lot of playable options here. Even Jaden McDaniels, I think we've got him for 22 fantasy points at 4,400. Looks pretty interesting. So plenty of decent options on the Wolves. Who are your 3 favorite players from the game overall?
Conley, Clarkson, Markkanen, and Karl-Anthony Towns, an honorary mention.
Okay. Final game of the slate, and then we'll take a look at the lineup generator. Chicago Bulls at the Denver Nuggets. We have Ayo Dosunmu out for Chicago. DeRozan is questionable, looks like. First of all, starting with Chicago, who do you have interest in here?
So the back-to-back for them, did they run anybody into the ground? Let's see. So they are back-to-back. It's a 3 and 4. I thought for sure Zach would be out tonight. He played 38 minutes last night. Vucevic played 36. Kobe White played 35. DeMar DeRozan played 33. DeRozan and Zach typically were sitting out on back-to-backs, but we'll see. We saw Kawhi Leonard play on a back-to-back. The whole new world these days. My fear is Denver, altitude, 10-point home favorites. Bulls come out flat, you start to see the bench getting most of the back half of the third quarter and the fourth quarter. That's the biggest risk here, in my opinion. I'm okay with Zach. I'd like Caruso. I would be positive towards Caruso. And then otherwise it's Jokic and Murray for me, but they could get a little bit of a break too, because it was a back-to-back for them, right? They played Dallas last night. Last night, Murray played 39 minutes. KCP played 37. Jokic played 36. Gordon 35, and MPJ 34. So if they get a chance for in-game rest, I see them taking the last half of the fourth quarter off if they can. But right. The Western Conference, you need to bank wins, right?
Do you anticipate anybody being a surprise inactive for the Bulls?
The 2 I would think would be Zach and Murray, Jamal Murray.
Something to like consider for late swap. Like, are you building around that at all for late swap ability? Okay. No. And you already mentioned the 2. Who are your 3 favorite from the game?
Well, we always have to say Jokic 1. I guess Caruso, and then Zach. I mean, the thing you could do is talking about late swap, if you don't play, I'm not looking at their prices right now, but if you only play one of Murray and Levine, you could maneuver it to a guard spot where you could flip-flop them if you're on DK, or use the utility spot, or make sure you play 2 players, like play another person from this game if you're playing both of them, and then that gives you another position that you can kind of tweak stuff for. I'd be more worried if it was the 10 o'clock game. It's the 9 o'clock game. I'm hoping that 8 o'clock, we if anything odd is going to happen, we get the smoke signals before then.
Okay.
Or before the 3 8 o'clock games lock.
All right. Have you had a chance yet, EMac, to look at tiers at all?
I have not. My apologies. I have not even uploaded my lineups. I haven't even uploaded our recent projections into our culture.
I see now. I had a message from Discord, Cream, asking, would you even bother with Kristaps with Horford starting? I think you could. Like, he's not somebody who would make it into my first 10 lineups. I think that Kristaps is somebody that in a 20 lineup set, I might have one share. In a 150 lineup set, I would certainly have shares of Kristaps. He clearly has the upside, but to me, he's not somebody who like stands out as a great play on the slate. He's a star who could obviously go off in just about any game. Do you see it any differently with Kristaps, EMac?
I'm okay with it. God, I wish it was a more competitive game, but he's someone that can put up a 20 and 10 in a non-competitive game if he gets 25 minutes and he's hitting his threes. I mean, we got to see that for a hot minute when he was in Washington, but
okay.
Dear God, I'm getting a lot of Peyton Pritchard. I'm just running on unencumbered crunches at this point, so I get some lineups in. That's a shame because I did 2 shows and had an article today, and here I am just rolling the dice on my my lineups. I'm gonna go make sure I get a bunch of Charlotte. That's my best counter move.
Nice. All right. We have not had a chance to look at tiers.
If you want to read them to me, I can answer the questions real quick. Or I could rank them real quick.
Actually, Mike, can you pull up the lineup generator, and we'll try to do them both at the same time. But we do want to look at the lineup generator because we have this half off promo. It is a fantastic deal for the lineup generator. And honestly, right now is the perfect time to be running the lineup generator, like as close to lock as possible when you have the most information available. So highly recommend signing up for the lineup generator. The link is in chat. The link is in the description of this video. It's going to be $4.99 for your first week. That is not half off of $8.95, I don't think, but whatever. It's going to be, you're getting a discount there.
The graphic looks good. I was told there would be no math.
I'm sorry to
it's 50% off though. The code.
Okay.
So
all right, you'll get 50% off using that code NBA Treat. Right now it's time to let's look at DraftKings main slate lineups, Mike.
I'll refund everybody the 35 cents they get shortchanged on that.
Yeah.
Just reach out to me.
Let's do all lineups so we can get a mix. Yeah, skip it. Yep. All right. Well, while you're you just go through. Okay, you're already here at the end. So you can see Miles Turner, we're getting a lot. Terry Rozier, Tyrese Halliburton. Interesting, we don't have that much Goga Bitadze in these lineups. Huh. I'm not even seeing Goga in these lineups. That surprised me a little bit. Maybe try running them again, Mike. Try clear them and run it again. All right, EMac, top tier 1. Anthony Davis, Jason Tatum, LeBron James, Domantas
Davis.
Right. Davis in tier 1. Oh crap. I'm all right. Tier 2, we have Tyrese Halliburton, Trae Young, LaMelo Ball, Zion
Halliburton.
Tier 3, we have Fox is out. We have Lauri Markkanen, Şengün, Ant.
We're going Şengün. I've got him up now. Tier 4, we're going to go McCollum. Tier 5, we are going to go Fred VanVleet. And then tier 6, it's a coin flip. I would go Rozier over Miles Turner, but it's a coin flip.
I want to be clear that you are a madman for taking Şengün over Ant. Come on now. It's clearly Anthony Edwards in tier 3. All right. So I wonder why that is. We did
it's not as good of a deal. Well, it's because he's so popular by the field. We're better off hoping he busts. Is my guess. Is what the sims and the algorithms are doing in the backside.
Yep, that would make sense. I actually got a lot of Goga in my latest sim crunch. So I a little bit surprised, but that we did different types of lineups. I guess we didn't specify a certain type, so not the most shocking thing in the world. Again, the link is in the description of this video. It is half off your first week of the NBA lineup generator. It's still going to be just $8.95 after that. So a fantastic deal on the lineup generator. We're only here for an hour, right? We're
only here for an hour. Yes.
Okay, just want to.
Steven Reynolds has Goga fouled out yet? Close.
That's funny. That is funny.
The watch is on.
You might be better off without Goga with the foul issues. Although Matt Butler at a point tweeted at us, EMac, saying that we shouldn't really expect Goga to get into a ton of foul trouble based on his fouls per minute numbers. I didn't read the tweet closely because I'm on a show. It's tough for me sometimes.
It's fair. I was more saying that if he gets 2 quick ones, coaches just they need to coach and put them on the bench. I ended up with 58% Batadze. That was more than I wanted, but I finally took him out because he kept coming into everything. He's my most owned player. I'm just playing on DK. I ended up with 58% Tyrese Halliburton, 50% Bruce Brown, 40% Conley. Those are my point guards there. Damn it, I did not get to, maybe Rozier's only shooting guard. There we go. I got Rozier 72%. I told you I was taking a stand on that one. Pritchard snuck into 35% of my lineups. Cam Reddish, I don't know what to do with that, but I have him on 30%. Probably because he's got the utility knife, shooting guard, small forward. LeBron ended up on 21%. I don't like, there was just not a good small forward night. I didn't get enough Franz Wagner. That I'm sad about. Only got 8%. Looks like I have is Jalen Smith out?
Jalen Smith?
Yeah, I have him in 6% of my lineups. I don't know if I didn't see if he was hurt or not.
We have him in. We have him in for 20 fantasy points at 4,100 in just 17 minutes for Jalen Smith is all we're projecting. What is the left knee capsular sprain is available for Saturday night's game. So yeah, he's in. You're good.
But it's game time decision for somebody coming off the bench is always like, did we hear about it? Especially after we have the Alec Burks and Taurean Prince and your running back that a lot of us had today in college football, the after lock news. Oh yeah, he tweaked something in warmups. He's not going to play tonight.
Yeah, just a useless report from the beat reporter 45 minutes late. All right, EMac, we are past lock. I know Mike needs to get on with his night. We all need to get on.
I need some dinner, and my mom should be arriving at any moment here.
Oh yeah, EMac's mom is coming to stay with him for a while, so that should be good times in the McPherson household. Any final words, EMac?
No, but let's get and have some fun with NFL tomorrow. We've got all the 4.5 hours up before lock. Neil and I will be back on NFL Live before lock for the Sunday night football. It's going to be a good one. We've got 10 games on the main slate. We're losing out on Miami and Kansas City.
Yeah,
why are we putting good games over in Europe? Come on, keep that stuff here. Embargo on. Jeez, guys.
Really?
Jeez. But between the buys and the primetime games, you're looking at Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson as everybody's favorite quarterbacks tomorrow. The Eagles will be stacked and restacked with their producer Mike's fired up with the CeeDee Lamb bring back. That's not going to be different.
Is Mike on camera? I see Sotek saying hashtag producer cam. I couldn't tell if Mike. I was cheersing Mike, but I didn't know if you could see that I was cheersing Mike.
Oh, I have my tasty ice water. Yeah. Cheers.
It's Canadian beer.
Shout out,
and
go
cheers
Birds.
to the rest of you. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for hanging out with us this whole time. As EMac said, we will be back tomorrow night for Sunday Night Football live before lock. Join us there. A good time as well. And of course, for the regular slate, we've got 4.5 hours, something like that, of content tomorrow morning. So we've got you covered for all of the upcoming.
And I'll be in a new room tomorrow. I'm moving to another room because my wife said you don't get to be in the living room. Your mother and I are going to be here so we can enjoy the view.
I think that's fair. That's fair.
Okay.
All right. Well, hello to Mrs. Mac. Hello to EMac's wife. Thank you guys very much for watching. We appreciate you. Good luck tonight.
Clear. Great job.